Grand Prix that has seen a Ferrari 1-2, perhaps against expectations, but also perhaps it will be that moment between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, which again makes the headlines at the end of this race. To run it through with you all the reaction, all the interviews coming your way on F1 TV's post-race show in just a few moments.
Well, what a fascinating, eventful Grand Prix we have been treated to, and one which truly came alive in the closing stages as our title contenders battle on track. Max Verstappen extending his lead to 57 points. Out front, though, Ferrari have scored an epic 1-2 for the first time in 18 years here in the US, and a win for Charles Leclerc, his third this year, after a daring T1 move. What a race it was. Here is all of your reaction. With me, Will Buxton and James Hinchcliffe. Welcome to both of you. Your reactions, please, to that Grand Prix, because it looked as though it was going one way, and suddenly towards the end, as it often does when it's a strategical battle, the incremental gains of Lando Norris to ignite that fight, Will, was spectacular.
It was. I mean, listen, first of all, a word for Ferrari, because right from the start of practice on this sprint weekend, Ferrari, with no upgrades on their car, had the confidence in the car. They had the solid foundation. They just got to work fast straight off the bat. They had great tyre management during that sprint, and that parlayed into the race today. They were untouchable, unmatchable. Absolute perfection from Ferrari, and I think they just did a brilliant job.
I think the greatest compliment we can play Ferrari is that we didn't see them. It was a sort of Max Verstappen of 2023 type coverage, because they were so far ahead. The battle was behind. The 1-2 was sewn up. It was a spectacular result for them, and then a great race for us behind.
Yeah, I mean, you almost feel bad for Charles Leclerc. I mean, this is absolutely brilliant performance, and nobody saw it. We were so fixated on all the battles that were happening up and down the grid. It was truly a barn burner of a race, to use a terrible cliche. But, I mean, to see the two championship protagonists battling that hard, that late in the race, it was epic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the championship protagonists took it to each other from the very first corner, running each other wide, as they did in the final few laps as well. But that's what opened the door to Charles Leclerc to run through and grab a hold of the lead, which he never let go. Hinch, I know you in the commentary box with Alex were getting very excited about this. I want you to talk us through it, because that's where they go defensive, and just keep an eye on Leclerc.
Yeah, I sort of said it during the broadcast. The pole setter's almost at a disadvantage here, because turn one is so wide. If you decide to go tight, whoever's second will swing around the outside and have a good shot at passing. And if you leave the door open, this is what's going to happen. The likes of Max Verstappen is going to stuff it up there, and then just beautiful read by Charles Leclerc to just hang back a little bit, try to square off the exit, and get both of them on the run down to turn 3. That was great. The only other thing he really had to do was take care of the restart, which he did just fine. Broke that DRS gap to Max almost immediately, and off he went. It was a pretty casual Sunday drive for him.
Yeah, super easy. And, you know, the question coming into the race today was, would it be a one-stop? Would it be a two-stop? Ferrari, as we understood it, were always planning to go for the one-stop if they probably could make it work. The safety car helped them out tremendously, gave them a little bit more life in those tires. But they executed the strategy perfectly. It's one of the most impressive things about Ferrari this year. Traditionally, they haven't always made the best strategic decisions. This year, they've just been super calm. We think back to Monza and how well they played that. They did it again today. Perfect.
Yeah, it really was, wasn't it? And Sainz, close. to the win, but ultimately it went to his teammate with the move through the inside, as we just mentioned there, the T1 move, then the excellent restart he made as well, Hinch. But a word for Carlos Sainz, because up there on the podium in the sprint race, now P2 in the race itself. Another brilliant weekend for the Spaniard.
It was huge. And I mean, he was the driver of the day for me in the sprint race, absolutely. Some of those moves that we saw were fun to watch, and it's that old school aggressive Carlos that you love seeing. And then today, I mean, I think back to really that first stint, I think sealed his fate. You know, obviously with Leclerc getting the jump on him on the start, then whatever that issue was with the car early on, they made an adjustment from in the cockpit, seemed to take care of that, but it wasn't until he was clear of Max after that first round of stops. The gap to Charles didn't really change. So he had very similar pace. It all just came down to who had that track position out of turn one, and that was sort of the end of it. But drove as well in a lot of ways as Leclerc did, just didn't have the track position to do it. But overall, strategy, pit stops, drivers, setup, everyone involved in the team absolutely nailed it today.
There were hearts and mouths with those radio messages for Carlos Sainz. You thought, no, Ferrari are in such a good position. Look, before we get on to the battle between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, I know he has to catch a flight and he's very kindly agreed to come on the show. I am very excited about this because I absolutely love his work. And when he walked past me in the paddock and said, I love your work, part of me died inside. Cole Walliser, who you may know from red carpets all over the world for the Glam Bot.
Indeed.
This is where you make celebrities do an incredible slow motion turn and they look spectacular.
This is indeed.
And you don't have it here with you, do you?
Unfortunately, no. I would love to shoot everything in and around the paddock.
Laura's absolutely angling.
This is a collab that has to happen at some point.
Absolutely.
Okay, Cole, brilliant to have you here with us.
Thank you so much.
How much have you enjoyed your weekend here? Because you're a big F1 fan,
I'm a
right?
huge F1 fan. This is actually my first race.
Oh,
and it was just
amazing.
incredible. We were in the grandstands, we were on the grounds, we were in the garage. It was incredible to just be here to get the full experience of everything going on. Really, really cool.
You've seen it from pretty much every angle you can then. What did you make then of the battle between Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, lap after lap? Max's epic defense, Lando's daring moves, and then ultimately the move that was but wasn't with the penalty.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. I mean, it was just so crazy to see those guys fight. All like the second half of the race was so fascinating. I didn't know that it got reversed. We were watching inside, and then we ran out to the podium, and then Max was in third. I was like, wait, what just happened? What did I miss? So really, really cool. Super, super exciting. Great race.
Yeah, and obviously you've been following Formula One for a number of years. How have you seen this season compared to others? Because I think what we've seen this season is kind of really feel-good results. Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone, Charles Leclerc at Monaco. But we do have these title fight in both really ensuing now. How do you see it?
I mean, it's just so exciting to have this invigorating battle going on. You know what I mean? It's obviously been fun and entertaining, but the cars are so tight, you don't know who's gonna win. Like, we didn't really know going in Ferrari was gonna be number one, right? So it was just so exciting. I think it's just turning out to be such an epic season the second half too.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm so glad to see you here and that you've got to see an amazing race.
Yeah,
here,
thank you.
Austin.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much, Cole. You may run and grab your flight now.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. A
stopping
pleasure.
by for
Awesome.
us. Thank you.
Thanks,
You
guys.
can pop
Thanks for
like that.
coming.
Thank you very much, Cole. Well, from one guest.
What a nice guy.
I know. We've
Canadian.
got to get the Glam Bot
Canadian.
to an F1 race. And he's Canadian,
Yes.
of course.
Oh.
Oscar Piastri
there he
joins
is.
us now.
Hello.
Hello.
Oscar, welcome in. How are you doing? How was that one for you?
Pretty boring. to be honest.
Quiet. It's a quiet
It was
day.
quiet.
Felt like you were a little bit in no man's land.
Yep. Didn't really have the pace to do anything in front. Had enough pace to keep everyone else behind, and that was pretty much my hour and a half. So not a lot happened. Tried to keep an eye on the action in front, but that was about it for my afternoon.
How aware were you of the penalty that came to Lando Norris and the fact that at that point I think you were within 5 seconds of him? He did obviously then increase that gap to Max, but were there any team orders given at that point for you to just back it off and ensure Lando stayed in that fourth position?
Yeah, they told me to slow down a bit on the last lap, which is fair to me. I mean, I've seen the incident a bit and pretty harsh, I would say, considering I had a very similar incident yesterday in Max's position and I was the one that got a penalty, so I'm sure we'll have some questions about that, but yeah,
That's a really interesting point. As you say, roles were reversed yesterday and you got the penalty for that. Is there enough clarity in terms of what the stewards are or aren't doing in those situations as to who gets that penalty?
I mean, I think given those incidents were so similar with opposite penalties, probably not. It's very, very difficult, especially when you've got a car on the outside and both cars going off the track and stuff like that. So it's not an easy thing to decide, and the difference of 20 or 30 centimeters being alongside can make a massive difference. the easiest bit would just put gravel there and no one's going to go off.
that was
I do that next year.
Part of the question was, do you guys want to see that? But the other one is, because you kind of had different roles there with different penalties, if they don't go the gravel route, which does just sort of take care of it, which one do you think makes more sense? Which is more fair? The driver getting the penalty that did the forcing, or the one that was forced off and passed off track?
It's really, really tough. I think every driver probably has a different interpretation.
Whichever one I didn't do, right?
Yeah. I think for me, everyone has a different interpretation, especially when they're on the outside. Unless the car is actually ahead of you, you can't see where they are. Everyone's full commitment on the inside, and we kind of just end up, especially in that kind of corner. So it's very difficult. Maybe we should just adopt NASCAR rules and just sort it out on track or in the pits. But, well, actually, no, some people have tried that and got community service, so maybe not. But I don't know. It's really, really tough. But I think definitely, given the two very similar incidents with very different outcomes, we probably need some discussions, I think.
Oscar, we've seen McLaren really be the team to beat since Miami, really come into its own. This weekend was not McLaren's weekend. I was talking to Zach yesterday, and he said the upgrades on the car were more looking towards races beyond this for the rest of the season. Were you always expecting it to be a tough weekend, or has it surprised you how hard it was?
I think it has been a bit of a surprise, yes. The car's been very tricky to drive all weekend. I think, even in qualifying, giving Lando credit, I think he made us look a bit better than we were yesterday, to be honest. So it's not a complete shock we've ended up where we are. We, from the first lap of practice, Ferrari have looked incredibly strong this weekend, and even for the last 3-4 races, from Monza onwards, Baku was quite a handful to keep them behind. And Singapore, I think they were very, very similar on pace to us. They just had two shockers in qualifying. So it's not a complete surprise that they've been so quick. It's a track we would expect them to be quick. But yeah, obviously we need to try and find a little bit of pace back, which hopefully we can next week.
Oscar, talking of Mexico then, what are the expectations there? How do you feel the car, the package that you have here, and indeed you may tinker with slightly next weekend, will operate in Mexico?
Hopefully a little bit nicer to drive than it has been this weekend. It's a very, very different circuit, much lower grip, I would say, because of the altitude, and just quite a lot of different corner types compared to here. So we'll see. I feel like it's still a little bit of a lottery of who's going to come out of the blocks quickly. On Friday, when I think I was a second and a half behind Ferrari after the first couple of laps, I knew it was going to be pretty tough, but obviously you don't know why. You come out so much slower, and then Singapore or somewhere else, you're the one doing that, and it feels pretty fun. So we'll see. I don't think you can accurately say we're going to be good, we're going to be bad, because you don't know what everyone else is going to be like either.
And that's part of the joy from this side of the fence for us watching, because it's so unpredictable. But look, sorry it hasn't been the weekend that McLaren and yourself would have wanted, but thank you so much for your time, Oscar.
No
P5
problem.
for you today. And look, you're 40 points ahead still in the constructor standings as well, ahead of Red Bull, and 8 more ahead of Ferrari. So it's pretty exciting. Thank you so much. We'll see you in Mexico. Best of luck to you there.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, we're going to look at 2 drivers now who made their racing debuts here, never raced here before, and both finished in the points.
Yeah, mega.
Mega. Come on, Liam Lawson, Franco Colapinto.
Who won driver of the day, by the way, today?
Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc.
See, I think it could
Franco
have been
was
either
second.
one of those
I think
two.
he was second.
I think there were a number of drivers who could have won driver of the day, because such was the incredible battling that we saw out on track. But Liam Lawson, on a weekend in which he started at the back of the grid. He had tricky qualifying sessions. He was the victim of track limits, but he got the job done today and beat his teammate Yuki Tsunoda.
I think where he really shone this weekend for me, 2 places. Firstly, Q1 yesterday, because that lap was sensational. And then the race today, it was just the consistent racecraft, the constant pushing. He was on it every lap. It was composed, it was measured. You don't expect the guy to step into the car on a track he's not driven before. We're just talking about you.
Speak of the devil.
And not just race through and race brilliantly, but score points.
Yeah.
Mr. Liam Lawson.
We're talking about you, Liam. Congratulations, points here. First time racing at Circuit of the Americas. Talk us through it. Take us into the cockpit.
Yeah, it was a tough race. Obviously very busy. I forgot how busy it is, honestly. Obviously the race is very, very long as well. So yeah, it's cool. You can be super proactive with tools on the wheel. And with the step we made yesterday with the car, I think that was the key thing going into quali. We showed it in Q1, the potential of the car. Obviously, I never got to show it in Q2, but I think we had an idea that the car would be strong, but obviously you never know in a race if it's going to be the same. And today, it's great that it worked out like it did.
It was a P3 for you, wasn't it, in Q1? That was quite the lap.
It's a good lap, yeah. I was happy with it, but obviously, then there's track evolution and for me as well, getting comfortable. I think we would have even further made a step. So. I was gutted, honestly, that we never got to have a crack at Q2 and Q3, but obviously today it worked out in the race. I think Haas this weekend were really fast, and I think even if I'd started alongside Nico, it would have been tough to beat them. I think we were very similar on pace, but yeah, they did a good job this weekend.
How good did it feel just being back behind the wheel again? Because I know you've been sat on your bum this year, not doing what you wanted to be doing, which was racing. And then the first opportunity you got it between your teeth and just went for it. Bring home points, 19th to 9th.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was cool. It was cool. It's obviously, there's been a lot of talk coming into this weekend in my position, and I've really just tried to ignore all of it, really, and just focus on driving this weekend. I know these races are important. Nobody needs to tell me that. And I know that for me, my goal is to be in Formula One next year, and these races are a ticket to doing that. So obviously this weekend was a good race. We go to Mexico now, a very different style of circuits, and all the tracks we go to really are very quite different, more sprint weekends. So yeah, plenty more to come, a lot more to learn as well.
Liam, I've got to ask you, not only were you in at the deep end for this weekend, you've never raced at this track before, you then had the grid penalty starting from the back and then equaling your best result in a Formula One car. You've also had a little bit of an altercation, shall we say, with two-time world champion Fernando Alonso, the elder statesman of the Formula One paddock. Can you talk us through some of your interactions this weekend?
Yeah.
And how are things now as well? Because I know what happens on a racetrack may be different to how you then, deal with each other off the racetrack.
Well, I haven't spoken to him since the last conversation I had with him. Obviously, it's racing. We're in the heat of the moment. It was a tough fight, but I think, yeah. I didn't think I did anything wrong. I thought it was hard racing, obviously. And today, I expected him to put up more of a fight, but he was nice. He let me go. He's somebody that has a huge amount of experience and somebody that, for me, I can learn a lot off. He's somebody that I watched when I was a kid, growing up, and so I have a huge amount of respect for him, regardless of what happened yesterday.
Well, it was brilliant to watch you battling out there. Congratulations on points here in your first Grand Prix back in 24 for VCARB. Thank you so much, Liam. We'll see you in Mexico.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. We are going to swap out Liam Lawson and bring in one of our favourite guests of the show. Will, you can stay this time.
Does this mean I have to leave?
For those watching earlier on in the weekend, Ollie subbed Will out, claiming that he was an upgrade to him. Ollie Bearman, how have you enjoyed your weekend in Ferrari colours? A 1-2 for the team. That garage, that hospitality must be electric right now.
It was an amazing weekend. I think, already from Friday we saw that the pace of the car was really, really strong, especially in race trim. So I had a quiet confidence, and I think everyone did about today. So I'm really happy that it paid off and we have a 1-2 for the team.
The confidence was there going into today, but was the team's confidence that high coming into the event with the pre-event stuff? Maybe your work in the simulator was the magic touch, but did you guys really think that a 1-2 was a realistic possibility before we even flew out to the States?
Honestly, no. I think it's tough to really set expectations at the moment because it's so tight in the the top 3 or 4 teams. It really changes weekend on weekend. I think Singapore could have been a strong weekend for us if things went a little bit differently. So we've been on a good we've had good momentum recently, and I think this was just a perfect weekend. Everything came together really, really well.
I want to talk about Haas. Because you're racing, you're racing for them next year. Their best result ever at the US Grand Prix. Double points yesterday, points again today. Upgrades that worked and looked mega. I know you're very tight with the guys, obviously, and talking to them all the time. How are they feeling after this weekend?
It's amazing. It's been a great weekend for them. You know, last year was a bit of a turning point for them here at the US GP. They bought an upgrade which didn't, you know, make the step that they were hoping for, and this year they've done the same, and it's, you know, it's brought them performance, and they've been really fast all weekend. You know, bringing an upgrade to a sprint weekend is tough anyway because you don't get much time to test it. But they've been, you know, on it all weekend, double points yesterday and points today. Yeah, I'm so happy knowing that, you know, that's the team I'm racing for next year. They've been on a great, you know, record at the moment.
Yeah, it really was.
Ollie, Mexico next up. You're back in the car in FP1. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. I'm here for 3 weeks, and at least I get to do the FP1, so that's really nice. I'm looking forward to getting back. You know, I made my F1 debut there last year for an FP1, so I have a lot of good memories from Mexico. And yeah, just really excited. I have to say a huge thanks to Ferrari for the opportunity. And yeah, can't wait.
Ollie, how much has changed in a year from that F1 debut?
I think I grew a little bit.
You better stop that. You better cut that out.
You're still growing because you're only, what,
Yeah.
19, I'm going to say. But look, how much has changed? You then got into
I've got
the
a few
car.
more like hairs around here, like 1 or 2 more.
Okay, well done.
A few more Instagram
That's it.
followers.
I'm thinking, yeah, a few
You know.
more Instagram. I'm thinking more of your action and your, you know, what you're achieving on track.
Okay.
Yeah, but look, come on, that debut for Ferrari and Saudi, stepping in for Carlos Sainz, stepping in again later this season, scoring points.
Yeah, you know, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. This time last year, I think I was unknown. I was just coming for an FP1, and it was, you know, it felt like the biggest moment of my life, and it was at the time. Now, looking back, it wasn't that big compared to, you know, what I've been up to this year. It's been a real whirlwind over 12 months, and, you know, this last 12 months has put me in F1 next year. So, yeah, very proud to be standing here a year later in a good place, and hopefully in another year's time, I'll be, you know, in another good place, looking at a great thing. So, yeah, Mexico will always be a special place for me.
And we are there next weekend. We'll see you there, and you get to be in a very fast Haas next year as well.
Exactly. And I hope I can come back on the show next week.
Any time. And
Well, I'm
Ollie,
not in Mexico, so you can do the whole
Really? I
weekend.
can-
Yeah.
do you want to be my co-host?
I can sub out.
Yeah,
I can
you can sub in.
Yeah.
Sub in, sorry.
Sub in.
Yeah, I've been working on my CV, and it's getting really long.
James Hinchcliffe is also in Mexico.
I'll be
with me.
there, but it's, you know, no, this is still better. It was an upgrade. It'll be an upgrade.
Upgrade,
Look, he's just an
upgrade.
upgrade.
Has bought an upgrade this weekend, and F1 TV's bringing.
An upgrade for Mexico.
I absolutely love it. Please don't
invited this guy?
change. Oh, don't change next
He
year.
invited himself the
He
other day.
invited himself on.
He already beat me in a pickleball game earlier today. Now he's
I wasn't
taking
going
my
to say
job,
that, but
so,
yeah, it was a close match at least. It was good.
It was close. It was
Ollie,
close.
everyone in the gallery is absolutely loving the fact you're so willing to come on shows. Do not change next year, okay? You must
I'll
come
do my
on.
best.
We love having you as a guest. Yeah, I know you may have a few more demands from the team at that point. But thank you so much, and we will bid you goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming
We'll
out.
see you in
Safe journeys,
Mexico.
mate.
Enjoy
Safe travels.
everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, great. So I absolutely love talking to him. Okay, from one, I was about to say rookie, he's going to be a rookie next year, to another rookie here racing, Franco Colapinto. Let's hear from him for points here at COTA.
Franco, what a drive, what a stint. Just tell me how pleased you are to have scored that point today.
Good, very pleased. Of course, I think more than the point, I'm happy for the pace that we had and for how strong we were in the race. When we had clean air, we showed that, you know, after a very tough Saturday for us, we bounced back stronger and we showed the pace we had in the car, and when that we, I think, were one of the strongest of the midfield. That's really positive for us. What we were looking for, and I think, you know, after such a difficult Saturday for the team to have this point, to have such a good pace, to have the fastest lap almost until the end of the race, it's something else. You know, we were not maybe expecting to be so strong, but I think we worked so hard with the team. We worked so hard with the engineers. The mechanics were pushing flat out this morning to fix something in the car, and you know, they did a great job all weekend, and they deserve this point after a tough quali for me. But I'm happy how we could control the tires. How when we had clean air, we showed that we were stronger than the others, and when we put the mediums, we were super quick again, and we could keep that pace until the end of the race. So happy. A lot still to learn and a lot to improve on my side as well, but it's a good start.
Great stuff. Thanks, Franco.
I'm not sure what's happened. Ollie Bearman has been replaced by the Dallas Cowboys, and Jada is alongside me. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. This is amazing. You know a thing or two about this, don't you? Jada, please explain how you know James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
Yes, James and I had a little dance session this morning. We taught him a little bit of our dance choreography, and he showed it off for the people.
I will say that you taught very well. I was not the best student. I got to be honest. It was rough.
Mr. Dancing with the Stars was not a good
that's
dance
different.
student.
I was explaining that I've got a partner who knows what she's doing and can just kind of pull me around when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. When it's just me by myself, it was tough. The way that these have to. Everything they have to learn, they have to know one beat of a song, follow one move, and know what routine to go into. It's remarkable what you guys do. But how did you enjoy your time at the race?
I had a great time at the race today. I feel like we've been all over the place. We got to see inside the garages. We got to start on the track today, but it's just been a great day all around.
Who were you cheering for going into it?
Going into it, I was cheering for Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it didn't end the way we all wanted
by
for
lap
him.
6, who were you cheering for?
By lap 6, I was cheering for the Ferrari drivers.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I think it ended well for them.
And you're a huge F1 fan,
I am
aren't
a
you?
huge
So you
F1
couple that
fan.
alongside, obviously, the extreme elite athleticism that you guys demonstrate in all that you do and how well you dance. Can you just give us a bit of an insight into what you were teaching James earlier?
Yes, we were teaching him one of our tags today. We were teaching him a tag, so it's what we do on the sidelines during a Dallas Cowboys football game, and we just have about 50 of them, 50 little tag routines. So he learned one of them today.
I almost learned one.
Almost kind of learned one today.
It's unbelievable. The retention that you guys have to do this is absolutely
it's
unbelievable.
A lot. You did well, though. You only had a few minutes to learn it, but I think you did a pretty good job.
You're being unnecessarily kind, but I appreciate it. But yeah, huge F1 fan. We did a little quiz back and forth. She quizzed me on DCC.
I've heard you knew the answers to everything.
She nailed it, 10 for 10.
Yeah.
I mean,
he wasn't as familiar with DCC, but he said he's going to work on it.
I'm going to work on it. Next year, I'm going to be much more well-versed on everything DCC, and we'll have a rematch.
And you said you were trying out in 2028?
Yeah, I think it's going to be about 2028 before I'm even remotely close enough.
May of 2028. He's your next Dallas Cowboys.
Drawing your pension
now you've
by
said
then.
that. Here,
said it.
this has to happen.
Yeah.
I'm being pushed by the gallery for James to demonstrate something.
You're not allowed to do
show
that.
it? We can walk it through really quick.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not allowed to grab those ones. Those are like, you have to earn those.
Those are the official ones.
Oh,
We had practice ones earlier.
We had practice ones.
No,
yeah,
okay,
I haven't earned
Are you sure?
these.
Okay, can you
I'm
borrow
giving
any?
you the opportunity.
James, you've
How
got
about one each? One
One
each.
each. Okay.
Okay.
Are we doing it together?
Well, yeah.
Yes,
well, I
together.
can't
Yes,
do it on my
please.
own.
Down.
I'm
So-
going to step out.
Yeah.
Out
No,
the way.
what are we doing? Here we go.
Okay, so you're holding 1,
Right.
2, 3, 4. We sparkled 5, 6, 7, 8. We went 1,
Oh.
2. Remember?
Yeah.
3, 4. Box
Hand.
5.
See, this is
6,
how it went.
7. Then we ran our head. 1, 2. We push out.
And then we
3, 4. We
that.
tapped 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we went down, up, down.
Hey, he's got it. Whoa. Woo! Thank you so much. You can catch Hinch's very best efforts and more of them on the Cool Down Room. And it's been amazing to watch all of your progress on the brilliant Netflix show as well. Thank you so much to the Dallas Cowboys.
Thank you.
Lorette is with Fred Vasseur, who must be jubilant after that Ferrari 1-2.
Fred, congratulations. What an incredible day for Ferrari. Charles was so impressive at the start. What most impressed you?
The calm, because you could always have the temptation to push a bit more, but I think they kept it under control all the race, and it was very well executed from the pit wall to the car, and the pit stop went well, everything went well. And it's what we are expecting when we are going somewhere, first to do a good job. And this weekend we did a good job with a good car, and it's paying off.
Well, the last time you had a 1-2 was in Australia. So with this, what are going to be some of the talking points that you and the team are going to discuss moving into Mexico?
Well, Mexico first will be a complete different one, because with the altitude it's another challenge. It's not because you are in a good shape in Austin that you will be in a good shape in Mexico, and I'm sure that we'll have the fight with the 3 other teams at least. But I really want to be focused on Mexico, not to think about the other ones. We know that we have a lot of points on the table, a lot of good occasions to do good results. But let's be focused on Mexico. It's a good and positive energy to have this kind of results, and it will be an extra motivation for everybody. But let's start from scratch.
Now focusing on Mexico, do you think the cars are perfectly balanced for that track?
Mexico, it's a one-off on the season with the altitude. It's not just about chassis, it's also about cooling and so, and it will be a different exercise. But I think we did a good step forward on drivability. And I think also for the drivers, it's much easier to be quick with this car than it was a couple of races ago.
Congratulations, Fred, on a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, packed weekend.
Ferrari are now just 8 points behind Red Bull and 48 points behind McLaren in the constructors' standings. They've firmly got their sights set on winning that title. It's going to be an almighty battle over these next 5 races between the 3. Ferrari on top at the moment, and spectacular 1-2 for the men in red and the Tifosi. Here, though, on the desk, we welcome another guest. This is an absolute bumper show, action-packed. Leo Neugebauer.
What's up?
Thank you so much for joining us. You've been a busy bee, haven't you?
Oh my God,
Buzzing
thanks for
about.
having me.
No, you're so welcome. Thank you for joining us, because I've seen you all over the place this whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
How much have you enjoyed your time here?
Like from a scale from 1 to 10? 25 and a half. Like, it was crazy. Like everything that I've done here, I've done hot laps. I've given Verstappen his award on Friday. Yeah. I was like literally out there. I did everything you could do, and this is my first F1. I had the best time over here.
And your incredible summer is just continuing because, of course, you won an Olympic silver medal in athletics in Paris this summer. And to come here and see a different type of athlete to the ones that you surround yourself with, but very much the mental skill set and the effort, the same, the match. How is it to see another high-performance environment like this?
So it's actually crazy because this is like a whole different world than what I'm used to. Like track is so different.
Yeah.
But seeing this is kind of funny. I've never been like this close to the drivers and everything. I talked to Nico's manager a lot, and it turns out the mindset is exactly the same. Like we athletes, we all like work the same, and it's just really cool to talk to other high performance people, like how they work, and actually they're kind of similar to me, you know?
You're good pals with Nico Hülkenberg, then?
Yes, he's my boy.
Nice.
Like he's the sweetest guy, funny guy, and just a good driver, and when he has to lock in, he's locked in.
Points today as well, you've been pleased with.
Exactly. Like he did a great job, and then like seeing the entire team so happy. I was in his garage the entire race.
Oh, amazing.
Seeing them so happy, cheering and everything. This is literally what this is all about, and I just had a great time.
I love when other athletes get to come and kind of witness what it's like for a Formula One driver racing around the track. And it wasn't an F1 car, but you did get a chance to go around on a hot lap, like you said. First, tell me what car you were in, if you know who drove you, but what was it like just feeling the physicality of even just being a passenger in a high-performance road car and trying to imagine what it would be like for these Formula One drivers?
So actually, I was in a car with Mick Schumacher.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, exactly. And he's also German, so we talked a little bit. And just he was drifting around these corners. Like I didn't realize that you literally like drive at a corner full speed, you hit the brakes like last second, then he turns the wheel. It was insane. Like I had a great time. These hot laps, they were just like more than I could have expected, you know. And yeah, as I said, I took the entire experience here and just run with it. It's my city. I live here in Austin, right? So great Austin weather today, and yeah, I don't know what to say.
It's brilliant to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad you've enjoyed your weekend, your first taste of Formula One.
Thank
you very much, Leo. Pleasure to have you.
Take care, I appreciate it.
Right. Oh,
we'll take that from me. Yeah, we don't have commercial breaks.
Yeah, no commercial breaks.
Thanks, Leo.
Just in and out. Thank you, Leo. Thank you so much. Okay. We'll talk about Mercedes. Before we get onto that flashpoint between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen that ultimately has just put another cog in the works of this incredible title fight between the two of them. Mercedes, though, Lewis Hamilton, hero, P17 to P12 within the first lap, and then Will beached.
So I don't understand why they didn't pull him off the grid and ring changes to the car, because he was so unhappy with the car yesterday. And he made a great start. A lot of that was down to kind of that melee at turn one that allowed him to make up those positions. But he was so uncomfortable with the car yesterday. I can't help but feel that mistake, which is so unlike Lewis Hamilton, comes from pushing to the max in a car that was still not to his liking. We saw what George Russell did today by starting from the pit lane. I think they may look back on this and think it was an unnecessary mistake to put him back into the race in a car that he wasn't comfortable in.
It's even more painful when you consider that it was essentially the exact same issue that George Russell had in qualifying. Rear snapping on entry to 19. You know, luckily he didn't make it all the way to the barrier, but yeah, it just adds insult to injury a little bit, doesn't it, for not making that decision to change the car and start from the back. So just a tough break, but for the team, great recovery from George. Brutal for Lewis. He's so good at a comeback. He's so good here. Wasn't to be, but George did a great job flying the flag for the Silver Arrows.
Pit lane to P6 for George Russell, but in that Singapore spec Mercedes, we'll see how they move on and move ahead into Mexico next weekend. Okay, let's get on to that moment between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. First, we're going to hear from Lando.
Hey Lando, just hard luck with how it all panned out, the FIA's decision. Just kind of give me your view of that really cool battle and the way that you did fight back against Max, and then obviously the decision not to give the place back just in case, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I didn't give the position back because we thought we were in the right. Clearly we weren't. I still think we were, considering Max went off the track. Normally if you defend your position and you go off the track, you have to give the position up. In that case, I was ahead. I kept my position because he needed to give it back, and that's the way it is. So I think I did the correct thing, but I don't make the rules. Max drove well. It was a fun race between us, good battle, and yeah, he defended well. He did everything he had to do. So I didn't have enough today. I didn't drive particularly well. It was a tough challenge out there with the tires and the car. It was a difficult day, so it's tough when you're on the limit and you're trying your best. Tires are old and hot, and it's slidey. It's easy to make mistakes. Those things happen, but yeah, I didn't do enough today. I didn't drive well enough. I get that, so I need to make some improvements.
I know you've only just recently got out of the car, so you haven't had time to think about it a lot, but can you take the positives at some stage, that given how tough it has been this weekend, and it's kind of, you minimised it at least. I know you haven't cut the gap, but you've minimised it, haven't you?
It's tough. I think our only position we could have got today is third. The Ferraris were on another level comparing to us today, so yeah, difficult to expect a lot more, honestly. I think even if I led after turn one, I would have finished third at best. So when you look at it like that, I was only one position away from where I should have finished, but that one position is probably the most critical because it's against Max, you know. So I'm not happy with today at all. We struggled as a team. I didn't do a great job, and yeah, both are not what we need right now. So we'll both try better next time.
All right, thanks, Lando. See you at the next one.
Yeah, ultimately, Lando Norris lost 5 points to Max Verstappen this weekend, on weekends in which he has to outscore him by 9 to make sure he claims the title at the end of the season. And if he had held that place, and if he'd had pushed out that extra second, having held on to it and not given it back, it would have been a +1 to him. Still not quite enough. Will, how do you take what Lando's said there?
We know he's always very hard on himself, but there's a truth there that he didn't drive well enough today. I just wonder if he's got that killer inside him, you know, because we've seen it quite a few times this year. He keeps trying the same move on Max. He's not sort of shaking it up or learning from previous experience. He's tried to go around the outside of Max on a number of occasions this year. He was trying to go around the outside of Max, I think, in Austria when they made contact and Max just kind of moved over on him a little bit. He tried it once. He took too long, I think, to make the move. And by that point, Max had already shaken him up, realized where he was going, and played a beautiful defensive drive every single time through. Max had him covered every single lap. When you compare each of Lando's attempts to, I'm thinking about Franco Colapinto, who had a look at Fernando, and then the next time round, he let Fernando move to the inside, but then he moved even further to the inside in a really, really late move. That was bold, that was daring, that was decisive, that was like instinct go. That bite, it wasn't there. And if you're going to take it to Max, you got to try and surprise him. You got to try and do the thing that he's not expecting from you. And I think Lando just keeps doing the thing that Max expects, and Max is just going to have him covered the whole time. I also don't understand why McLaren said he were ahead at the apex. He was on the outside. It's so difficult to determine that. And also, I don't believe that's the rule. I think you have to be on the inside to be ahead at the apex, not on the outside to be ahead at the apex. And then why they told him not to give it back. It just felt, yeah. If he'd given it back, could he have had another attempt? Yes. Would he have pulled it off on the basis of what we saw over those 10 laps? No, I don't think he would. Just didn't have that bite today.
That was my next question, was on the team. And James, you know, the stewards will decide what they are going to decide. The team ultimately have control of how they react to in the moment. They could have given that place back and gone for another move, as you just mentioned, Will. How do you see, firstly, the incident? And obviously Oscar's already given his view that it was a very harsh one and one that he has seen go a different way this weekend to himself. How did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Oscar's got a bit of a unique perspective because of that penalty that he took in the sprint. But no, I think it was the right call from the stewards. The wrong call was from the team. Yep. We looked at that footage over and over, and he was not ahead at the apex. I'm going to disagree with you on Lando's driving a little bit, because I think I know he's famously harsh on himself. I do think he's being too hard on himself in this particular case, because the thing you got to remember is driving all the way down the inside at that stage of the race, you're going to pick up so much garbage on your tires. It's so hard to stop the car. You know you're not going to roll around the outside of Max unless you are ahead. The real only shot I think he had was to dummy Max into either braking too late and outbraking himself, or braking so late himself that he was ahead at the apex and he could control the corner. We're talking about passing Max Verstappen. It's a tough thing to do on the best of times. I'm not sure there was much more he could have done, but I do think if the team had seen what everybody else saw, told him to give the position back, he at least had a few more cracks at it. Would he have done it? I don't know. Max is so perfect in his placement and execution in those conditions, but at least it wouldn't have been a penalty and it would have looked different. Or if you want to just, you know, take the rules as a bit of a joke and go outside the spirit of them, drive around them 3 laps sooner and have more than enough time to open up your 5-second gap and be done with it.
There is that, isn't there? Yeah, because
but I like that he didn't do that, because that's not the way you want to go race.
No, absolutely not. But if the team are telling him not to let him back through again, then the team have got to be on and say, you need 5 seconds, you got to go.
Because even on the cool-down lap, when it was announced to him he got the penalty, he came on the radio and said, so we should have let them. We should have let him by. He wasn't protesting letting by. He was. I think if the team can see so much more than the driver can from inside the car. So for sure, that part of this is, if you want to say maybe Lando could have done something different, fine. But you definitely could have done something different as a team.
But he's got to learn from this, from Austria, from the rest of the year. Like as Hinch says, if you're going to go around the outside of Max Verstappen, you've either got to go so late on the brakes that Max goes later and forces himself off track and just steams, you know, front locked up and just barrel rolls off, or that you carry that momentum and can go around him such that if he moves you off, it's a blatant, he's pushed me off track and he gets the penalty. You can't be soft about it. It's all or nothing, because if you just make the kind of moves that Lando was today, Max will run you wide. Everything we know about Max tells us from history, he will run you wide. Does it every time.
What's so brilliant about Max's defense, apart from the hard part of just driving one eye forward, one eye back, never putting the car wrong, he did it in turn 1, he did it in turn 12 at the end. He was never done for going off track as well. The way the rules are, as long as you keep one tire technically on the circuit, you're not also going off and it's not a penalty. That's what he did in Vegas, turn 1 last year. He got the penalty. If you look at turn 1, that blue line, that is track limits, he was just on it. You look at turn 12, he was just on it. Max knows the rules very well, and his spatial awareness of his race car is outstanding. Yeah. And he took everything to the absolute limit, but he's within the limit.
Max shouldn't have been on the podium today. You know, that McLaren had the tire advantage, it had the pace advantage. That was a drive of a champion today, because he did everything he needed to do. As Hinch said, it's millimeter perfect. Every single corner, every single lap. And he held it ahead on an occasion when he had absolutely no right to be there, other than just through dogged determination and pure skill.
This is it. Ultimately, Lando can drive as well or as badly as he believes he has, but he has to put up with the defence of a 3-time world champion in Max Verstappen. Let's hear them from the other side. Here's Max.
Hey, Max, some great battles out there today. How do you kind of feel overall? Was it a bit of damage limitation and kind of just getting the most out of the weekend?
Yeah, I think overall, it was quite a tough race. I didn't expect it to be that tough, but we just struggled a bit more on the tires. Just couldn't really attack compared to yesterday, and we were just lacking a bit of pace. But I think overall we just did the best we could. We managed it till the end. Some good battles with Lando out there, hard battles but fair, and it definitely was a lot of fun.
How significant is it for you to be making sure you're just, generally speaking, always finishing in front of Lando?
Well, that was definitely a positive weekend, of course, but there's still quite a few points that we need to collect. But yeah, of course, very happy to at least extend it now for once compared to the last few weekends.
Great stuff. Congrats, Max. Thanks.
Yeah, what could have been Max losing another point has turned into him gaining 5 over Lando Norris. The gap now 57 points, but in the constructors' standings, Red Bull are now just 8 ahead of Ferrari, who secured an epic 1-2. And I'm sure what happened on track will rumble on and on. Luckily, we get to do it all again next weekend in Mexico. Will, thank you so much for all of your insights and expertise and analysis. Hinch, pleasure as ever to have you back with F1 TV and back with us here. Thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look then at how things shape up in Mexico. It'll be me, Hinch, and apparently Ollie Bearman joining us. Here's the schedule. Okay, weekend warm-up then is at 4:30 p.m. track time, 12:15 for FP1 build-up, 3:45 for FP2 build-up, 11:15 for FP3 build-up. Qualifying our pre-quali show at 2:30 for you, and then of course the race at 1 p.m. Well, obviously, this weekend we have had some very sad news concerning the Formula One family, and that is that Pete Samara has sadly passed away. He was a dear, respected colleague. He served the sport tirelessly for 28 years, and we send our heartfelt condolences to all of his family and friends. Formula One is a family of amazing people, and you may see just a few of them on camera, but there are so many of them, both behind the camera, but working also behind the scenes in the wider company, who make all of what you see possible. So our heartfelt condolences to Pete Samara's friends and family, and to all working in Formula One for this weekend.